everyone, it's Leo, and today we're going to talk about episode 8 from Tropical-Rouge Precure. This was probably one of the funniest episodes we had so far. There were so many puns. It was such an intelligent episode in this way and full of personality as well. I really enjoyed it. Another great Tropical-Rouge episode. And I thought that this was gonna be an Asuka-centered episode, and I think they tried to do that. I mean, she was the finisher, the eye catch was Cure Flamingo, and well, the action kind of happened because of her. Not really because of her, but she was one of the centers of the action. But I think that the one that actually got the biggest focus in this episode was actually Manatsu. And different from last episode in which we had a big focus on Minori and Laura, and the rest of the characters seemed like side characters, in this episode we had more of a union of the characters, if we can say that. I mean, all of the characters really participated, and it was very nice. So let's start. Basically, the action of this episode started because of lunch boxes. Manatsu's mom made a mistake when organizing the lunch boxes, and Manatsu ended up taking 2 boxes of rice to school. So when they got to eat, Manatsu was all desperate. And like at that moment, like the first comment, I don't remember if it was Sango or Minori, but I think it was Sango or even Asuka. They looked at Manatsu and said, "Whoa, you really like rice." And Manatsu's like, "It's not that." So like there were so many small comments in this episode that were so awesome. And right at that moment, we can kind of see how each of the girls work with their own lunch boxes. Minori focusing on healthy stuff, but they don't taste good at all. They actually seem to be very gross. And it was very funny the way she was telling the girls about it. Sango like doing the beautiful flowers, but because of that, she didn't have time to prepare anything else. And Asuka being the one that is actually very good at it. So Manatsu asked her to teach the girls, and she was gonna teach the girls. One very funny thing about Asuka that I'm really liking about her characterization is that usually those older characters in Precure, they have the cool aura about them. And while I do think Asuka has the cool aura about herself, she has some sort of vulnerability that the other older cures didn't really show or didn't really have. You know, she is not the most secure person around the girls. Like when Manatsu arrives to her, she gets scared. Or when they're talking about their lunch boxes and asking for her to teach them, she says, "I don't know if I'm able to do this." But I am liking this characterization about Asuka because it feels a little different than what we had in past seasons. And like, she's not the badass queen they would expect her to be based on her visuals and based on how we have those type of characters in past Precure seasons. So I'm really loving it. And so we get to another great scene in which the girls are, you know, making lunch boxes, and they decide to do kururun lunch boxes. So, I mean, again, great back and forths with Minori being really scared, like, are we gonna cook kururun? So like last episode we saw that Minori actually has a lot of imagination, and in this episode she took the imagination way too far, girl. It's not like that. It was so great. I loved it. But obviously it's not that they meant. So they started doing the lunch boxes, and then we had a great scene with Laura. Laura, always the queen of every single episode. Again, no different in this one. So basically, when the girls started cooking, Laura said like, "I'm the queen. Queens of Grand Ocean don't cook. So I'm just gonna watch. And I can try for you." And then Asuka was like, her plate is gonna be full of spice. I love Asuka's and Laura's relationship. Asuka does not take Laura's queen attitude. Like, she doesn't accept it at all. But it's very funny how they do it. And ultimately, it's all good game for them, and I mean, it's not something big. And, you know, just Laura started teaching, Asuka started teaching the girls how to cook, and, you know, the girls weren't really having the easiest time, but Melody was having the hardest time with the nag, and so Laura was very angry seeing that, and Laura went to start cooking as well. I mean, Laura always says, "I'm not gonna do this, I'm the queen," but she always ends up participating. She can't stay away from what the girls are doing. I mean, she probably sees how much they're enjoying stuff, and she wants to join as well. And I mean, Laura, right? And so that scene between Laura and Minori was amazing, and then we see all the girls actually cooking, and then we have that amazing scene of the teacher arriving and Laura being found out. And then the girls are like, we're cooking this big fish right here. I mean, this show is so self-aware at times. I mean, that scene was super absurd, but the show was just playing along with it. And then, you know, Laura's reaction at the end of the scene saying like, oh my god, you girls are gonna cook me. And, you know, obviously the girls weren't gonna cook Laura. Laura knows it, and, you know, the show knows it. The people who wrote it know it. But it was such a funny moment, and, you know, putting it there just for the sake of a gag, it is really incredible. And I think that this episode really made its point in terms of comedy. I think that this episode had it all. But at the same time, it was a very kind and heartwarming episode. And when we talk about Asuka being the center of this episode, well, because she is the cook, she's the one who can teach the girls, and also we get to learn a little bit more about her and her family. We see that she has a brother and a father. It's just the three of them, and they divide the housework, and she is the one responsible for cooking. So she does the meal, she does the lunch boxes for her father, and her brother. We don't know much about her brother, we don't know much about her father, but I'm really excited to see them. I really hope they show them sometime in the series. And another thing that I really enjoyed about this episode in terms of the cooking thing, the cooking scheme, is that how they show that you cook with love for the people you care about. And so Manatsu didn't really think about that before this episode, so this episode really made her see it. And so Manatsu started noticing that her mom works a lot at the aquarium. She has a lot of work, she tires herself, but she wakes up earlier than usual because she wants her daughter to have something good to eat. She wants her daughter to be healthy, and so she prepares her daughter's food. And I really liked this idea of, you know, cooking because you care about the person. And that was a nice message. You know, I feel like people that have a good family can really relate to that. Even if you never thought about it, if you start thinking about it, you will notice that if you have a good family, you probably have someone or more than one person in your family who does it for you, or maybe you do it for other people. And so the girls started talking about how they eat their lunch boxes, and most of them started saying that they start with what they like the most first. So Minori likes the broccoli the most, and Sango likes the sausages the most. Manatsu likes the meat patty the most, and Asuka is different than them because she leaves what she likes for last. What about you? I am like Asuka. When I'm eating something, I usually leave what I like the most for last. And the girls start eating what they like the most. So I'm more like Asuka. What about you? And so the girls finished the kururun bento, kururun is so adorable, and the kururun bento looked really adorable as well. And so the girls took it outside to eat, but at the same time we had a Yaraneda attack. So in the villain side of this episode, we have Shongiri attacking, and once more he did a beautiful plate of curry, and the witch didn't want to eat. This makes me question if the witch is, she doesn't want to eat because she doesn't have motivation at all. What is going on with her? Like, eating is so important nonetheless, and she's so big, she probably has to eat a lot to maintain that big body. And she's not having energy to do anything. What is going on with the Witch of Delays? This is really piquing my curiosity. I really want to know more about her. But Butler tells Shongiri that Shongiri is the one who needs to attack, and he goes and attacks the town. He steals motivation. Something very funny was that the people who had their motivation stolen in this episode, they felt like they were liking it. I mean, they were just laying there, no will to do anything, and they were enjoying it. I mean, I can kind of see that sometimes. I can kind of understand those people sometimes. And then the girls arrived and they started fighting, but they couldn't really fight because they were hungry. So one thing to consider, again, Manatsu right before Kurosama, right before they finish, they do the finishing pose, Manatsu or Kurosama says something different. So she did it last episode, we commented on it last video, but probably now it's like confirmed that she is gonna do it. She's gonna do a different phrase every episode related to the episode at hand somehow. And so the girls couldn't fight because of their hungriness. They really needed to eat something. And here is probably the worst part of Tropical-Rouge so far, which is the fights. If we compare it to last season, which was Healing Good, I didn't like the fights in Healing Good because the cures in Healing Good felt very weak. This time around, the cures don't feel weak at all, but the choreography of the fights is kind of boring. I mean, they kind of have ideas, they're trying to do something different, but them as cures are not really using their powers to fight that much from the last few episodes, because we had great fights at the start of the season. And so in this episode, it was no different. They couldn't fight, okay, I get it. It was like supposed to be a gag, I think. And Laura was like, I have a great idea. And the girls, okay. And the girls ended up freezing the monster with its own power. And the idea of Laura was like, let's eat. Very simple. And the way it was done, it was great. It was supposed to be like a super epic scene with the camera rolling up. They were just there eating. And they ate a little bit, and they all went back to the fight, and they were able to defeat the monster. It was very funny. Cure Coral doing her defensive pose when she was hungry. She couldn't defend herself. And then after she ate, she did the big axe. And the girls were able to kick the monster right out of it, and Flamingo finished it. So the girls were able to eat at the end. They all, like, that ending scene was super amazing with Minori not being able to eat because Kururun was looking at them. And Kururun was just like there, you know, just looking and just paying attention to the girls. And Minori was like, I can't eat it. And the girls bought her idea, except for Manatsu. And she was like, Manatsu, you're awful. I loved this. You know, those little details, those little gags, they really, really made this episode for me. And not only that, I really liked how they dealt with Asuka's personality in this episode, and also Manatsu and the way she realized what her mom was doing and how important it is. And also the ending of the episode was also very beautiful, with Manatsu cooking for her mom and that beautiful painting at the end. Oh my god, super, super nice. Next episode, we're gonna have an actress arriving at school. She's making her movie there, and she's not confident in her character, she's not confident in her acting abilities. She's gonna get her confidence because of Sango. So Sango is probably gonna be the next focus, and I'm curious, I'm very curious to see this. Oh, by the way, at the end, we also saw Shongire coming up with a new technique for the Witch of Delays to eat her plate. Stupid, but you know, it's Shongire, so I'm buying it nonetheless. I really like Shongire, and he is hot. You know, he's hot, so he's a big man, at least from the waist up. And another interesting thing, when they were all lined up with their bentos more or less had their own colors. So we had 6 bentos, one for each of the 4 girls, one for Laura, and one for Kururun. Laura has her bento, like the blue bento with pink details, just like her, and Kururun's bento was like the teal-ish green, kind of like your Milky, but more to the blue side, I think. Does this mean anything? Do you think it means anything? Not gonna say anything. If you want spoilers, you know where to find it. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching. This was my view on episode 8. Please leave a comment with yours. Let's keep talking in the comment box below. Anyways, just want to take this little time to thank the members of the Magical Cinema channel. If you are a member, thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you so much for standing by me and for believing in Magical Cinema. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye!